Welcome to the Starter Girlz Podcast, the show dedicated to the Starter Girl. She's an achiever, she's a creator, she's a magic maker, she's a dreamer, and she is doing all the things. I'm your host, Jennifer Loading, and welcome to this episode. Here we are, another episode of the Starter Girlz Podcast, and I'm so excited about my guest today. She's an amazing creator and entrepreneur and doing all the things, and that's what the Starter Girlz is all about, right? So Ripley Rader is a Forbes featured powerhouse entrepreneur and designer, creator of the Ripley Rader brand, and has been featured on the Today Show. She started designing clothes at the age of 12 and has used her passion for female empowerment to create an American-made, all-inclusive sizing fashion brand that has taken the country by storm. So I am so excited to get her on here today and chat about what she's doing and all of the greatness that she's embodying in her work. And Ripley, welcome to the Starter Girlz. I'm so excited to have you here today.
Oh, I'm honored. Thanks so much. This is great. I'm psyched to talk.
Yeah. And for our audience, they're going to be able to see this backdrop. She said this is her latest work. And so super excited. It's incredible.
It's funny. It looks like a curated backdrop, but and it makes sense, but it's my fall winter 23 season that I just shot a few months ago that I put up on the wall to keep inspired through the season as I create new stuff and, it's important to look where you were so you can have a clear sense of where you want to go. And I do that often. And so it's definitely part of my creative process.
Yeah, it's great. I was just talking to someone a few minutes ago about vision boards. And so it's almost like your vision board. It's your creative piece of what you're trying to create and do.
Yeah. And I think as a fashion designer who's not out to create art, like I'm out to make women feel strong and powerful in clothes. And because of that, I don't have my inspiration doesn't really come from, of course it comes from art and beautiful things and colors and all that stuff, but really it comes from what holes are in women's closets. How can we help women feel super strong when they do walk into their job interviews and when they, they have a date and they want to feel really, fabulous. And so when I see my work, I can see what I do well and I can see what needs to be improved. What holes are we missing? Really, I don't live in the ether a lot or whatever. I really am a pragmatic person because I want to make sure that that I'm not just doing this for me as some sort of creative practice. I really am out to make sure that what I do, it's like the difference between doing sewing, let's say a piece you're going to wear, and an arts and crafts project. I've never really been into arts and crafts because I am always thinking end game. Like, what do you do with arts and crafts? Right. It just sits there. Whereas like creating something for women that they'll actually wear is where, for me, the fulfillment comes from.
Yeah, I like it. Well, and it's great. You get to do what you love doing in the process of that. And that's the win-win here, right? Yeah. You get to be pragmatic and have the end-all game, but do what you love in the process of it. And I think that's what's beautiful about, whether you're a creator or not, whatever that is. You are creating something. You're creating something that's practical and needed, right? And so it's just the beauty of that is being able to take that and use it in a pragmatic way to fit a need. And so that's, I think, where the gift comes in, is you get to.
Yes, I agree. I think that we're conditioned to believe that you're only a creative if there's a performative element to things. Right. But the person who, like our COO, like he has to solve problems creatively. And we have an creative operations woman, and she is my right hand. And she sees a problem and creatively solves it. So, we always say the artists and that the singers and the dancers and the performers, but really like mathematicians are unbelievably creative. Mm-hmm. Like you have finding a creative solution to something, a problem, a hole in the market or whatever, that's so deeply creative. And I think that I just started reading a book, The Creative Way of Being by I think that's the name of it, by Rick Rubin. Okay. He talks about that in his book too, about how we don't honor the day-to-day creative as much as I think we should. And so, yes, my work is very creative. I'm very grateful for that. And so is the guy who does, or the woman who does all of our spreadsheets, who creates the margins that keeps my company afloat.
There you go. Right. We all have
Yeah.
our own creative piece. I love it. Well, I want to ask kind of a question before we dive into kind of the main thing of this. Like, because you started designing at 12. And so I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, like, right now, what's going through my mind is like, when I was a kid, I'm a little older than you, but I'm thinking about these fashion plates that we used to play with when I was a kid, and I loved them. And they were at the little plates, and you put the paper and then you'd color on the thing.
Oh my God. I love that.
You know what I'm talking about? And you got to
I
design.
do. Yeah. I totally know.
You were probably totally into that whole thing at a young age. Like,
yeah, I've always been super tactile. My family owned a fabric shop for home design, for upholstery and couches and draperies, window treatments. And so I took those things and very quickly at a very young age, I never sketched, I never did any of that stuff, but I could look at a piece of fabric and know what it needed to do, how I needed to cut it, and what I needed to do to make it look good on my body. And I made all my clothes, but I had an entirely, and this is good for people to, and this is something I talk with young women about all the time, is I had a totally first season of my life. I was a Broadway dancer and singer, and I just sewed for fun, and I danced and I sang for money. I went to NYU for musical theater and was on tour with Broadway show. And the whole time I was sewing, but only for fun. And I think we're conditioned to believe that you have to monetize everything that you love. And as someone who has monetized everything I love, there's a give and take. I always said I would never sew for anyone but myself because it was just completely joyful. But I think because it was just joyful, I could really, create whatever I wanted because I didn't have to worry about selling it or pleasing people. And then by the time high school came around, I started selling the shirt. Everybody liked the stuff I made, so I ended up selling a little bit. And I should have known I'd end up in in fashion. But I definitely had a career in theater before, which was awesome.
So awesome. Well, and that's the thing. We used to say I came from the big world of Mary Kay Cosmetics. I was with them for 22 years. And we used to always talk about, you do something that you enjoy doing, you'll never work a day in your life. Right. So that's what's making me think of when you say that, is just that when you find that thing that you enjoy doing, and then it sort of kind of evolves itself and kind of becomes a way, now you're able to share that and get it out there. And,
I do think though that you do work. Like I love what I do.
You do work.
I love it. It's like, I do love it. And it is, I think it's a wonderful thing to give voice to the fact that you can love something wholly, probably much like children, all joy and no fun, right? Like you can love something creatively. I know what I'm creating is incredible. And there are days that I think, this is such hard work, and I like the idea of putting voice to that, because what you love to do, you're not going to love to do 7 days a week. And you're not going to, and as an entrepreneur, that's how much you're working. And it does change things. Mm-hmm. And so something that you really love might be something that you keep to yourself and you don't monetize, and you don't then have to lean on other people's opinions of it, and if they're going to purchase it or not, and things like that, and then find something that maybe you love a little bit less, start that business. Yeah. Some things I think should be, for yourself, potentially stay sacred, so you can keep enjoying it as you do when you don't have other people depending on their money to buy it. But I think that there's definitely, it's a cool thing to be able to watch something that you see grow and develop into something that's much larger than you ever imagined, which is what the company has done.
Yeah. No, and you touched upon something important, because yes, you are, I think there's no, I like to, I always say on my shows, we're very practical, because it's not rainbows and unicorns in the entrepreneur space. And a lot of people get into it and they think that it's going to be that way. And we know it's not, right? And thank you for saying that, because we want to be real here about the whole thing. But I do think that it's the passion that keeps us moving through those valleys, right? It's like the excitement of what we're doing and what we're creating, because it's very different than for us, especially as entrepreneurs. Like I think every day, like death for me would be having to go punch in a cubicle for somebody and punch in, I studied accounting in college. Me having to do that No, it would not work. It just would
Yeah.
not work. That would be awful. So we do have the beauty that we do get to decide how we want to manifest these entrepreneur journeys and how we want our business to look and how that serves our values. And we just know we have to put the work in. You have to be able to do the work and be willing to do the work to get the outcome that you want. So thank you for saying that.
Yeah, definitely. There's quite a bit of, it's the nevertheless she persists. I mean, we have that thing of you have to be willing to show up when you don't want to show up. And 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 you do it for years and years and years. Like we're 10 years we're 10 years having been a company, and we in some ways are an overnight success. Like, and so it's this 10 years and overnight. And so it makes the 10 years really worth it when you see fruits to labor, but it's a risk, you never know. But I think it is that passion that keeps you going and going. And I love watching something grow and scale. And so that we just actually took the next step with our company and took over the top floor of this building that we manufacture and we went from a very small space to a very large space. And I'm like working on Easter Sunday, it's all the things I don't want to be doing. But I looked around and I thought, it's very cool. It's very fulfilling. And for me, I don't chase happiness. I chase fulfillment. It's always been my MO. And I was like, short-term happiness aside, long-term fulfillment is where it's at for me.
You gave me chills when you were talking about that, because I'm so excited for you and just listening to what you're doing, because to me, this whole thing that we're talking about, it's so funny. I've had several interviews today, and we've been talking about these, the struggles that women go through as entrepreneurs, and to see somebody like you be able to, take something. And when you talked about 10 years, because look at that, 10 years, and then you have that manifestation, it's so many times people get into these spaces, whatever that it is they're trying to create, and they think everything's going to happen so very quickly. And it just goes to show that it's that tenacity and that persistence, day in, day out, right? Staying committed to the passion, committed to the dream. And then eventually, if you stick with it long enough, things start to manifest, they come together. And so you're a testament to that.
Thanks.
It's so exciting.
Thank you. Yes, it's very exciting. Very exciting.
Awesome. Yes.
I feel very
I had another question I was going to ask you, and I just totally got wrapped up in what you were talking about.
Oh my God, it makes me so happy. It makes me so happy. I could, I think it's very easy when you hear people get interviewed. They talk about, well, I started then, and then I got on the cover of Vogue, and then I was invited to the Vanity Fair party, and then a blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, what happened in between? Like when I was an actor, people would be like, I went to NYU and then I got on Broadway, and I'd be like, but what were the steps in between? Yep. And I think my job now as a successful entrepreneur and a role model to a lot of young women is not lying to them. I won't do it. Right. And I think, like, are you willing to make certain sacrifices? Are you over and over again? What are you willing to sacrifice to make something, great? Because there will be sacrifices. You can't do everything you can do everything and just not at the same time. Right. And so I think that's where I am with it, because it's funny, because as wonderful as success is, it's fleeting, like failure is fleeting. And so what you have to do is go, well, is what I'm doing, the purpose, still making me feel full, paying my bills, if need be, all that stuff. But I think that recognizing that everything is temporary, gets you back to what it actually is. It's not about the fame. It's because it's such a roller coaster. Business owning is such a roller coaster. Like, for example, just last week, our Instagram got hacked. Well, our biggest platform is Instagram and Facebook, and we are sort of a viral company on those platforms. So you can imagine the panic.
Yeah. I went on your Instagram and your Facebook.
Yeah. It's like, it's a weird thing. And I think I'm 42 now. I think at 32, when I first started the company, I would have lost it over that. I would have been out of my mind. But it happened during a sales show I was dealing with my wholesalers and boutiques, and my husband was back. He runs the company with me, and he was back dealing with this office move. And it was this thing of, we dealt with what we could. You do what you have to, and you move on. You don't get worked up about things. You take things as they come. You recognize this won't last forever. It'll get solved. And it did. And then you move on. But I think that's a wonderful thing rather than really letting yourself go really high and really low. If you can keep a really level head about most things, knowing everything is temporary and you can get through anything. Some idiot has created a company and made millions in it. If that person has done it, if he's like this idiot guy has created a company, you can also create a company. This idea that you have to look outside of yourself to create. I still run the website and I'm 10 years in and we're doing numbers like I would never have known. And just now am I thinking, oh, I should maybe optimize in a different way. But I mean, this is the whole thing. When you start, and this is like my major advice to entrepreneurs that are young and starting, particularly women, you can do more than you think you can. And so what if you don't know how to do it? Look on YouTube, like figure it out. Ask your friends who, like, I got a quote for my first website and I wasn't funded for this company.
Yeah.
So I started with like a jumpsuit and a dream, and they quoted me like $16,000 for a website or something. And that's a going rate. That's not crazy. But I thought to myself, well, this is ridiculous. I can figure this out. Some idiot has figured out how to do it. And there's beautiful platforms and templates for like $100 on Shopify. That's what I did. I made it my own. And we ran that and of course, the longer I was in business, the more I customized it and things like that. But, I think it's very easy when you're starting a business to think that you're not capable of doing 80% of the work, and you are. You can lay out the grid on your Instagram account. You don't need a social media manager. You can go on Canva, which is an app, but also just like on the website, the desktop version is great. Create, assets, create media assets. These things you don't have to hire out. And the more capital you can keep when you start a company, the better, the longer you can try. The longer you can take risks that really will pay off. But I think it's just easy for people to look at you and go, oh, you're starting a company. You're going to need this person. You're going to need this person. It's like, you will do the job of 10 people. And the more successful you get, you still do the job of 10 people. It's just bigger people. Yeah. But I think that's my biggest thing that I always say to entrepreneurs who are starting out. You have a specific kind of madness in you to want to start something. Lean into that, and you're capable, or you wouldn't do you wouldn't want to start the company anyway. So lean into your capabilities, figure it out, and I think that you will save money, you will save time. It'll all be your point of view and your unique gaze, which is what you want, because people fall in love with that. They fall in love with your passion. And like, I do all of my photography for all the lookbooks, all the content. I do everything. And I retouch it and all this stuff. Did I know how to do this? No, I learned how to do it. Because I believe that I can believe I can learn to do something. Right. And I think that's the biggest takeaway for me as someone who's now on the other side of it. For young entrepreneurs, do more yourself. Don't hire it out.
Yeah. It's interesting that you say that too, because I'm building out this program right now, and that's part of my thing right there, is that I've sat on this for like 3 years. And a lot of it was just because I knew that once I started, it was going to be a lot of work, because I was going to want to do it. It needs to be my work. It needs to be my content. I can't have somebody write that. But funny enough, yesterday I was just writing about all the roles as an entrepreneur, all these pieces that we have to do, right? And some of them are kind of combined, and some of them you don't need right away. But it's interesting because, yes, I think as a new entrepreneur, yes, we can learn much of what we need to do. I say even in my podcast, I had to learn how to use Adobe Pro, which was pretty interesting because I'm not a tech savvy person. And just recently I found out how to do several things. I've been doing a podcast now for 3 years. And I finally just not too long ago figured out a few things on Adobe Pro. And it was like, oh my goodness, why am I just now finding this out? Why did I not know this like 3 years ago? Because I just hadn't taken the time to look. But yes, 100%, we can learn the things we need to do. And I think it's good because not only doing that, I think it's sort of like doing your own taxes for the first time. When you do your own taxes, you know what it's like to do taxes, right? So now you know what to expect if you do decide to bring somebody in.
Yes.
You know the ins and the outs of what you had to learn, right? And you know what you want to get done right and what you don't care, what you can let go. So I agree with
you. And you get around like everyone we hire, no matter what level of the company, they all start in our shipping and receiving area, because those team members are super valued to me. They do really incredible work. They're the backbone of the company in many ways. Everyone starts there. Everyone knows how to pack a box. Everyone knows how to steam a return. Everyone knows that. You start because you have a deeper appreciation for it. And so that's the thing. You can, down the line, you can go, I really don't shine in this way. Well, then now you know, but at least you've given it a go, and you want to listen to guidance from people. You want to listen to advisors and things, but only take their advice if you can sit with it for a few days and it still speaks to you. Everyone has opinions about how you should, the word should, deadly, how you should run your company. And the only person that knows how you should run your company is you. And you have to cut out the clutter and really focus on your gut going, what do I feel like is right for me and this company? And that will be what, like, I'm bringing back now that I'm big. When I wasn't big, when I was in like 5 stores, there were silhouettes that I did that were brilliant. I'm just now bringing them back, and they're our biggest hits every season. The oldies, when I didn't have anyone telling me who I needed to sell to, when I could just design, like when I was 12, and no one was in my ear. There's such a beautiful. It's wonderful to be on the other side and be reminded, like, man, I was that good then. And as a young entrepreneur, it's very easy to think that you're not good in the beginning, but you're as good as you will ever be, in my opinion, or better than possibly. You get, there's a level that you can get watered down. So I think the passion of a new entrepreneur, there's nothing like it. And you really want to bottle that and really lean in and listen to yourself. You have to be so delusionally self-confident. And that will make or break you. Because if you listen to too many people, there will be none of you left in it. And then your voice, and then the thing that makes you is gone. Yeah. And then who wants that?
Right.
Nobody wants vanilla anything. It's like you want a point of view as a consumer. You want to know what this person's about, what this company's about. Even agree with it or not. Like Spanx, for example, I don't agree with the idea of holding women in by spandexy stuff. Like, I really love her.
Uncomfortable.
I know, and I love, she's obviously a huge role model as an entrepreneur, but the actual product for me doesn't speak to me, but at least it has a point of view. And she really was out to do something that at the time wasn't being done, and answered the call for a lot of women who wanted it. And so I think that's what makes her brilliant, is that she has, and with our company, I have a very clear point of view of how I want my clients to feel when they meet me, when they meet our brand, when they wear our clothes, all of it. And there have been seasons where I leaned away from that and we didn't do as well. And so I think that kind of passion will carry you. You just have to really believe in yourself, delusionally so.
Yeah, I agree with you on all of it. I didn't want to interrupt you. I'm just letting you go. I agree with you 100%. I think when we stay true to our values, I think is when we shine. And when we start shying away from that is when we, it doesn't always show up right away, but you'll see. And if you go back and you look and you say, okay, why did things not go the way I want? And typically it's because we're moving away from what's true to what we're trying to do. We're listening to other people. So I think you hit upon a lot of really good things there. Okay. So real quick, tell us about this new line. When's this coming out? And,
we're a seasonal company. So we do, spring 1, spring 2 in summer. And then We have pre-fall, fall, and holiday. That's sort of how it goes, the season. We have some really cool launches happening. We have a new campaign coming out. The first thing I ever made was a jumpsuit, and I would get scouted, or I would get stopped by women everywhere I wore it. And which is always a good sign, because no woman that I know at least dresses for men. Like men are easy and they're sort of ridiculous. And so love them, but women, oh, sorry, my puppy. But women dress for other women. And so women used to stop me all the time. And I knew I was on to something. And then I got scouted by a buyer at Fred Siegel. And she was like, I was at a concert and she was like, where'd you get this thing? And it was this, this jumpsuit that I loved. And I went on vacation with 6 women. We all put it on and everybody had different bodies and we all looked good in it. And, but I got famous recently from my pants. So I'm known as the pants woman, which is, we do make a great pant, but I'm relaunching the jumpsuit joyfully in May. I'm very excited about it. And we're doing a whole campaign about imagining an army of women not afraid to stand out. I think we're conditioned to believe that, and in our country right now, speaking up, being a woman and speaking up, we have to do that differently than we've ever done in the past. And so the whole campaign is imagine an army of women not afraid to stand out, with our clothes, with our voices, with our courage, all of it. And this campaign, I've dressed all different bodies. We have inclusive sizing, obviously, because hot is hot.
Sure. All
different ages. We have in the campaign, we have a 19-year-old and a 65-year-old. I mean, it's just pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And I think that I'm super excited to dive into that, because it's like my baby, but like no one knows it. Like my jumpsuit's like the thing that I feel the most, I guess, passionate about, but I'm excited to sort of introduce it to the world. Which I'm really,
You are a beautiful soul, right, Ripley?
Thank you.
I love listening to you, and I can definitely feel your passion and your energy for what you do. And like I said, I love what you're doing. I checked out all of your stuff.
Thank you.
Blown away by it all. And I do, what I want to say to you is I'm going to make sure when we get this out, we'll get all the links so everybody knows where to check all this out. But tell us real quick, your website, because I know it's probably pretty easy and we can find it, but tell us it so we can make sure we get it noted where you want me to send everyone.
Okay, wonderful. It's RipleyRader.com. That's pretty simple. Ripley Rader.
I love it. Mine is my name too. I always love it.
I know that. It's good. It makes it really simple. And then online, it's Shop Ripley Rader. So, keep it. You're
doing awesome stuff. I'm going to follow you because I want to keep up with you.
Ditto.
And I did see your deal on, was it the Today Show or whatever?
Yes.
I saw your pants on there.
Yeah, which was not via PR. That was a completely organic. The producer's sister wore my pants at Christmas dinner and could eat and looked great and was happy. And then the producer was like, we got to feature these pants. And I was like, this is amazing.
They're awesome. I saw that. I'm like, I got to check out this stuff she's got going on. So good for you. I think it's incredible. You are a starter girl. See?
That's yes.
Starter girl. So
yes.
I want to tell you, thank you so much for coming on here. You're incredible. Love what you're doing. Like I said, thank you for being authentic, for sharing. And we'll make sure, like I said, that we get everybody directed in the right way so they can check out your pages and what you've got going on. I'm going to keep up with you too, so I can keep up.
Ditto. Thank you so much. It's a mutual admiration society around here.
Absolutely. All right. And of course, we do want to say to our audience, if you enjoy our show, go check us out on your favorite podcast platform. You can go give us a rating on Apple. And keep in touch with us so you can see all these great, amazing women that we're featuring in these stories. And like I always say, you guys be kind to one another and take care of yourselves. We will see you next time.